Hi.
Hi, Will.
Hello, everybody.
Everybody got their mics on?
I do.
Hello.
Mike
Yeah.
Newman here. Can you see me?
Yeah. Hey, Mike. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I remember a couple of years ago you met. Remember that restaurant in Bristol, Steve? It had a good
Yep.
breakfast.
Yeah. That's the last time we saw you.
Tula.
Steve, I have the wrong name. I have a different Zoom account. I'm Nina Malinek, but I'm Naomi Levine Hauser.
That's what I thought. Okay.
That's
Okay.
what
Let
at
me
least
make a
you
note
know,
here. Oh, Naomi.
George, of course, used just his iPad on yours, George.
Yeah. Okay. Are we going to call him George all day?
George says, "Hello, everybody."
Okay. Yeah, we're keeping George up late. It's 11:30 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the alley George I have down at the bottom, but who are you? I don't recognize the face. I'm sorry.
That's Eddie Carpenter.
That's Eddie,
Oh,
not
wow.
George.
Got it.
Yeah, he became George after he left us. And he's over in the Philippines now. It's 11:30 at night.
You know, the cops were after me, so I had to change my name, you know.
Yeah.
Well, how are you guys doing?
Good, good. Who's there in the upper right-hand corner?
I guess everybody got older along this team. I don't know.
Steve Daner.
Are you talking
Oh,
to me?
yeah, okay. I
That's
know, why do you call
Naomi
yourself
Levine.
iPad?
I don't have my name on there because I don't know how.
Okay.
Eventually, I'll learn.
I-
Hi, Bula.
I expect everyone to look the same way as high school. What's going on?
Yeah.
I love him. Rose-colored glasses. I love it.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, we got more people coming. Hold on.
You change my name at all? Do you have that ability to change
I
my name?
have Nina on here, Nina Malinek.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's what
my
you
Zoom
signed in.
account.
Okay.
It's what my Zoom
Cool.
account's
We
under.
got 3 more coming. Oh, good. Bruce Agnew made it. Larry Madoff's make it, and Linda Russell, right?
More people are here. Let's see.
Yeah.
Let me make it bigger.
Good morning,
They invited
everybody.
20, so it could be.
Hi, Bruce.
Good morning. Good morning. I've only got
Morning.
I just stopped by to say hello. I'm waiting for my next case. So I'm doing contact tracing for the state.
Oh,
So like I say, it said, just wanted to say hello. And
Do you, Bruce, do you use a pencil or a pen for the tracing?
yes,
And what kind of paper?
right.
Right.
Hi,
You
Bruce.
use like the tissue paper?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, tissue paper. Or my computer, whichever comes first.
Well, good.
I'm
Bruce,
not even
maybe
gonna go there.
Bruce.
Is everybody well?
So far,
Yes,
how are
thank
you?
you.
How are you?
By the way, I'm recording this just in case, if anybody doesn't want it recorded, let me know, but I thought that we could share it with some of the others.
I'm glad
you
you
let
said
me
that. Now I
know,
have to be
please?
careful.
Do you have a get out of jail free card, please?
Oh, yeah. Hi, Linda. Is your microphone on?
Oh, yeah, it's on. I'm just
Oh,
listening
good.
to everybody talk.
There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, hi,
I was
Linda.
just getting a cup of tea.
Hi,
you look the same.
How many people are on?
But don't you have it on your
Yeah.
screen?
So I'm missing one person here.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay.
I only got
That's
6.
I have 10.
You
I
should
have
have
10.
10.
The participant icon shows
9.
people.
Yeah.
Aren't you becoming an expert? I never used Zoom until I had to teach my 3rd graders Hebrew.
Oh,
Was
Liz
it-
Levin's coming. Comes Liz.
Interesting circumstance.
Well,
This
the
is
name
my
under
first time.
iPad,
Hi,
So there's-
Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hey,
the
Liz.
name under the iPad is Steve Daner. It just says iPad for me.
Okay, and we
And
got,
I'm not Nina Malinek. I'm Naomi Levine. So
Yeah.
it's the wrong name. So
And Linda, you lived around the corner from us. You lived on West State, and we lived on Westfield.
Right. We lived at 1213 West State Street.
Yeah, I forget my
It's
number.
amazing how you can. Hello, Liz.
23
I follow
North.
Liz on- Hi, Bruce.
All right,
I
I-
follow Bruce and Liz
I've-
on
I've got to
Facebook.
go. Everybody take care.
okay, Bruce.
Okay, so Bruce.
We'll do it again.
Bruce,
Have an
go do
easy
your
day, Bruce. Have
push-ups.
an easy day.
Yeah, go do my push-ups after I'm done work. All right, take care.
Go do
All
your
right,
thing.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi,
Bye-bye.
Bruce.
So I have
I'm waiting for a plumber to arrive, and I only have 22% left on my iPad, so I may disappear all of a sudden.
Okay, well, we're recording it, Liz. For Liz.
Well, wait a minute, Liz.
Larry, how's your sister?
How's my sister? Is very good. She's down. I'm in Columbia, Maryland. That's between Baltimore and Washington, D.C.
Oh, hey, could we do a favor? Could we tell everybody where we all live? Because I live in Potomac, Maryland, Larry. So I'm not far from you.
Okay.
Yeah, well, could we start at the beginning and tell people where we live?
Sure.
Right.
I'm in West
That was
New York,
cool
New
up there.
Jersey.
Wait. One at a time. We have to do one at a
I'm
time.
in West New York, New Jersey, across from Manhattan.
Okay.
Sun City, Center, Florida.
City.
Yardley, Pennsylvania, from Mike Newman.
Steve Daner.
You're not Mike Newman, you're Mickey Newman here.
Steve, where do you live? I didn't hear where you live, Steve.
Well, we live right next door to Mickey. He's in Yardley. We're in the next town over, Linehorn.
Oh, I thought you went to California. Someone told me you moved.
No, we're in California probably 3 or 4 months a year in San Diego during the cold months. But other than that, we're almost local to Trenton.
Ah, okay. Haven't seen you since the Jewish Historical Society meeting.
Yeah, I guess we're due for a meeting soon.
Well, I'm in Florida now, and it seems like I'm going to be here for a while. So.
Naomi, you were at the reunion, weren't you?
What's that?
You were at the 50th, weren't you?
Yes, I was.
I thought so. Yeah, you're in the pictures. Yeah.
I was living in Pennsylvania at the time. I since moved to Florida.
Unfortunately, with my position, I was I think I met Ken one day in court. My wife and I were U.S. District Court reporters. She was local, and I traveled all around for the government because we had I had a secret clearance, so they were sending me everywhere for statements and stuff. But we stayed relatively local.
Well, you guys all need a passport to get to me.
Yeah, I know.
Can't
go. We're not allowed.
I'm in the Philippines.
Yep.
What city?
Oh, wow.
What
Cebu. Right outside of Cebu City.
What's that?
Since I don't recognize anybody's faces,
I'm right outside of Cebu
your
City,
names are not
Philippines.
always appearing here.
Yeah.
What got you to the Philippines? Because one of my close friends lived in LA and retired, couldn't afford California, and so he went to the Philippines. I forgot what city he was in.
We had a kind of a similar situation. We lived in Hawaii for 30 years. And after retirement, then the income got frozen because I was a federal employee. And the cost of living doubled over there within 5 years. And my wife is from the Philippines. And so we just moved back home.
Yeah, his wife was from the Philippines also. He was an entertainer in LA. And once he retired, it just got very expensive and off he went. But I understand being a federal employee because my wife and I were both federal reporters for 40 years with the government. And then we said, I think that's enough. And we still, and then we had our freelance firm all those years. And then we just closed it 2 years ago. We said, time to breathe.
I came over here, we built a house. We've got a ½ acre of ground. We got a lot of fruit trees. We love to spend time in the garden. And federal government who? Employment what? Forget all of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
How do you deal with Medicare and medical needs over there since you're not in the States?
Interesting you say that because shortly after I came here, I had a number of health issues. I damn near died in 2012 because I had an intestinal blockage. But being federal, I had Blue Cross Blue Shield. Medicare does not cover you outside the United States except for emergency situations. But my Blue Cross Blue Shield covers me about 80%. And the hospital costs over here are only about 10 to 15% of what you would have over there. I had knee surgery here. It cost me about $15,000, not me, but that's what the cost was. And in the mainland United States, that would be about $70,000, just to give you an idea.
Yeah. Wow.
And does Social Security still come to you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, my federal retirement. Well, I send it to a bank in the United States, but I could have it directly deposited into the bank over here. We have a number of expat friends and their money comes here direct. So, and everybody speaks English, so it's not a problem.
George, do you have to come back to the United States every so often? Is it required or no?
No, because I'm married to a Filipina, I'm considered to be like a green card holder, a permanent resident.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
Ed, George, we'll call you both. Is your daughter over there with you? You have a daughter, right?
No, we had 2 daughters. We lost one to pancreatic cancer, a matter of fact, 15 years ago today.
Oh, well, the other one.
And the other one is
here in
in
Philly with
Texas.
you.
She's in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who came with you to Philly?
Only my wife and I.
No, there was a third person, I swear. No? Maybe not. Okay.
Steve, your microphone's a little garbled.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that better?
Okay.
I've been playing with these different kinds of
Just
cameras.
curiosity, how's the COVID situation in the Philippines?
Not too bad. Unfortunately, every country is a little different. And over here, they're very concerned about senior citizens over the age of 60. And we've been on lockdown since the middle of March. We've not been allowed to go outside of our property.
I'm sorry. What's
Hey, put on your,
We
put
only got
your
about
mute on.
40,000
Can you hear?
cases.
Put your mute on.
And about 1,500 deaths. So not real bad at all. So
You're better off on lockdown. If we had done
Well,
that, better.
you know, you say
Are they
that.
doing testing? George, are you doing a lot of
Another call.
Are you doing a lot of testing, George, or no? How much testing is going on?
No, they're not doing a lot of testing. What they're doing is contract tracing and testing and doing localized lockdowns. The situation over here is we have a lot of cluster areas that we call barrios that are like local neighborhoods. And if somebody gets, sick in that neighborhood, we have local enforcement people to lock that down.
Okay.
Well, I'm scared to report that I'm in Florida, and we all know that Florida's numbers are outrageous.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
absolutely unbelievable. People don't wear masks. People don't social distance. It is unbelievable. So I have been basically in my condo, except for emergency leavings, and that's been for 5.5, 6 months.
Where in Florida are you?
Pardon?
Where are you at in Florida?
I'm on the West Coast, south of Tampa, in Sun City Center. Miami is totally closed. Miami's the worst.
Oh, yeah.
And then Tampa is next, and I'm south of Tampa.
I have family in Weston, Florida. You know where that is?
No, I don't.
It's just due west of Fort Lauderdale, where they're at the Everglades.
That's south, and that's, central.
Yeah.
If it's close to Miami, then, if it's Dade County or Broward County, it's a bad situation.
Yeah,
Linda, where are you?
I believe.
Linda, where are you?
I'm in Potomac, Maryland.
Okay.
We've been here, let's see, our son is going to be 47. So we've been here 48 years. We were in Connecticut before that. And then we were in the military at George Air Force Base during the Vietnam War. And came back, settled in Connecticut, didn't care for it very much. And I went to George Washington. So my husband's a pediatrician. So when we went looking to relocate, we looked in the sort of the New York area and the Washington, D.C. area. We looked in Virginia and Maryland. So we're in Montgomery County. So we're not far from Columbia. We have a daughter who lives, and son-in-law, and 2 grandchildren who live in Owings Mills, right outside Baltimore. Sure. And we have a son and a daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren who live in Seattle, Washington.
My kids live in Seattle. What a great town that is.
Where do they live in Seattle, Larry?
They just moved close to not Belltown. Where did they have these?
Bellingham?
Oh, Capitol Hill.
Capitol Hill, yeah.
That's where our kids live, in Capitol Hill.
Yeah.
It's a great location.
Oh, all the neighborhoods in Seattle are great. Every neighborhood has its little neighborhood shopping center, and it's a wonderful town.
Yeah, very, very walkable. I mean, he can actually walk downtown. Great bus system, which we use all the time when we're able to travel.
If you
and he
like
goes,
the hill, if you like the hills, walking up, from Pine Street or going to the market and everything, those hills are pretty brutal to me.
yes, they are. That it's like the Seven Hills of Rome. Most people don't know that about Seattle.
Yeah. Is
And
anybody
like-
still working? Mickey, you're giving up your practice now, right?
So me,
Am I?
Yeah.
I retired a month ago.
Yeah.
Oh, Mickey, there you are.
Yeah.
Are you
Sometimes
still
known as
Mickey?
Michael.
Michael.
Yeah,
Right.
he's selling his practice or something, right? Or passing it on?
It doesn't come up on the screen that way, but that's Mickey. I'm retired, and
Well, don't tell my wife that, Mickey. We didn't know that. We used to see you all
well,
the time.
we have a new doc there. She's great. So
Mickey, where are you living?
in Yardley,
With Rochelle.
Pennsylvania. Same with Rochelle, and same wife,
Okay.
same house, same
Well,
two.
say it with a bigger smile, or I'll have to report you.
Nikki,
she
say
around,
hello
Nikki?
to Michelle. Nikki,
What's
say
that?
hello to Michelle for me, please. Naomi Levine. Say hello.
I'll
Is she
find
going
her.
to poke her head in one day? She home?
I'm sorry.
Is Rochelle home?
I didn't come through clearly. I'm
Is
sorry.
Rochelle home?
No,
Okay.
no, she's out somewhere.
Okay.
But I'll tell her you asked for her.
Well, please do.
Tula, where are you living?
In Cherry Hill in Morrilton, New Jersey. Yeah, we've been here like
Before my parents passed away, they had moved to the Boston area and they moved back to Cherry Hill. And that's where they lived. Yeah. So
I'm surprised Steve Lenoble's not here.
He usually comes. Johnny
Yeah.
usually
He
comes.
was going, I keep in touch with him. He said he was going to join. I'm surprised he's not on.
He sends a lot of funny jokes.
Yeah.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
He's got a good sense of humor.
We lived in.
Liz, I'm surprised your cat isn't on with you. Where's your cat?
We have two cats. One of them, we're having some work done around the condo today. So one of them is under the bedspread in the guest room. And the other one is just lounging in the living room at the moment. But I'm sure when the doorbell rings, she'll just hightail it somewhere else.
Okay, I enjoy seeing pictures of your cats all the time.
They're my fur babies.
Yes, I know.
So let me put in a small pitch here. I've been trying to accumulate the group. We're up to, I think, 20 people I have email addresses for. I'm still trying to get an email address for Dottie Naylor, Rich Simmons, and Johnny Everhart. Trying to find the women is always a problem. I noticed yesterday that Bruce had posted somewhere on there that Barbara Bernstein was on Facebook, but she hasn't posted in 2018. And she's changed. She must have been married twice because she has two other last names. So I got creative last night and found the three other people who posted happy birthday to her in 2018 and said, I sent them private messages and said, we're trying to find Barbara if she's around, if you have an email or something, forward it on. So,
Stephen?
Yeah.
I just had a thought when you said that. Bryna Weiss.
Yep. Yeah, Bryna's on the list. She got an invite.
Okay.
Yep.
And what about Marty Schwartz?
I don't have an email address for Marty.
He is on Facebook.
Yeah,
He's on
all the
Facebook.
people. Yep.
And
Go ahead.
you know what? I might have something. I don't know. Because at one point, Bruce Agnes should have something.
Yeah, he has some. I have his. I just sent. I finally got Sharon Rogers.
No, Bruce should
will have
probably have
Marty
Marty.
Schwartz. Yeah, Bruce will have Marty Schwartz.
Georgia Brenner has more Facebook friends from Trenton that we know than anybody else.
Steve, I have one for you. I called her last night. It's Bobby Bistrong.
Oh, yeah.
And I sent her the invitation. I will send you her email, but she couldn't make it today. She had an appointment. But I will send you her email.
Yeah, well, I'm recording it, as I said, and I can share this thing out. Who else did
I forgot to add that we lived after the service, we lived in Lawrenceville and then just moved to Pennsylvania only 20 years ago. But we did live or commute to the Virgin Islands for 6 years with my federal judge. who was at that point the chief judge of the Virgin Islands. So it was a nice, tough duty.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I got an email this morning from Howie Mopshevitz, who's out there in Denver. And he works for NPR. He's a film critic, basically, and teaches at University of Denver. He said their internet is so poor out there that it's very hard for him to Zoom. I said, well, see if you can sign in anyway. So tried to reach him. Let me just go through the list and see if you got anybody else here. Let's see. Steve Nickus, I sent another note to via email. Sharon Goldberg, interesting enough, has 3 Facebook accounts, but I figured out which one was real, and I got her email this morning.
She lives in Florida. She's in Florida now.
Yep. Who else do I got? Heard from Ruth Birkenheimer. Sent her an email this morning.
Yeah, and I talked to her. She was going to join, but I sent her your invitation.
Right.
I don't know why she didn't get on.
Yep, and that's it. And I sent another note to Billy Trail. Yeah.
Ruth Berkelheimer is in Arizona, for those that know.
Yep. No, I've got the addresses for all these. So, anybody else think of names we don't have yet?
Well, I thought of one, but I have no contact with her anymore. Phyllis Cantor.
Yep, she's on. Wait a minute, do I have her?
On Facebook.
Thought I had Phyllis on here.
Steve, didn't Phyllis Cantor respond that she was going to attend?
I thought so.
So did I.
Yeah, she's here. Howie, Georgia, Doris Pesca, I got in touch with her.
What about Harriet Sulkin? And I can't remember.
Yeah. Well, she's no longer Harriet.
I know.
Yeah, she wasn't at the reunion either. She's Heshy.
She wasn't at the reunion, Steve.
What?
She was at the 50th. Harriet was at the 50th.
No. Yep. But she Facebooked me back with her email address, and I invited her. But I don't know. She's got like 10,000 Facebook friends for her.
She's basically living in Africa most of the time.
Wow.
Significant other, and they work with. They've been doing all kinds of work with African people, and he is like 80 some years old, and he climbs Mount Everest every year.
Wow.
And they're very, very active in, cross-cultural stuff. And again, I don't know where, I think maybe Botswana. I'm not sure where they live in Africa. But I will try to reach out, and see if I can do anything more than you got.
We all have my email address or my Facebook thing. So if you come up with new people, again, especially the women, because, where did they go? Somebody posted the other day, Julie Platt. Does anybody know,
Steve, what about Hetty Strauss? Anybody remember Hetty Strauss? I came only to one reunion. I came to the 25th reunion.
Right, that was the big one.
And Linda Rossinello, she lives here.
Right.
I should have her email address.
I might need to let you guys know, sorry to interrupt, but you might lose me here shortly. We're having thunderstorms in the area.
Ooh.
You were talking about internet. The internet where I live is so bad that I don't even have a cabled internet. I have a little box that runs an airwave to a microwave tower. And when the power goes off, the house goes off. So
wow.
If my screen goes blank, I'm still alive, but.
Well, this seems like the best time to get everybody to at least include you in, because it's people.
At least during the quarantine.
Yeah.
What time?
Yeah, being on quarantine, where am I going to go? So I can
12
be up.
hours.
George, what time is it? What time is it in the Philippines right now?
It's just coming up on midnight.
Midnight.
Okay.
Exactly 12 hours. Right?
That's after my bedtime. I wouldn't be able to be awake.
Well, that's why I
napped all
scheduled.
afternoon.
That's why I scheduled this. And something else I was going to tell you. Shoot.
Does anybody know what Junior 3? I think it's still there. How's it functioning? What is it? Is it a school or what's it doing?
Junior 3 is at middle school.
Yeah, I drove by there probably about a month and a half ago, and it looks kind of barren, but of course there were no students around, but it looked almost, the physical building looked the same.
Yeah, have you all seen the new Trenton High?
Yeah.
Not yet.
No.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Steve, send me some pictures.
Yeah.
So I have a question, because this is my own memory not being sure.
Sure.
I know we were K through 8. Were we K
Nine.
through 8 or
9
K through 9?
9.
through 9.
Through 9, because Trenton High started at 10th grade.
All right. That's what I thought, Liz. And I thought that was so impressive that Trenton did that.
Yeah.
I mean, as an educator now, looking back, I know nobody else does it.
No.
Doesn't anywhere
No,
else.
and considering how long ago that was trend setting.
Yep,
Well,
59.
every time I tell somebody, when we're talking, people that, didn't grow up in Trenton, and I tell them that we had to pass a swimming test because we had a pool, and they're like stunned, because Montgomery County thinks they're very wealthy and they have a good educational system, but they have no conception of actually what we had.
I was on the junior 3 swim team. I swam backstroke.
Oh,
As I remember, the junior 3 swim team won the city championship that I was on.
Do you
And
remember
ironically, Linda,
I think it was Robert Havens, Jeffrey Lewis, and somebody else.
Do you
and
remember
ironically,
the
Linda,
tank
my
top
kids,
we had to wear the blue jersey tanks?
You had
Oh, yeah, they were awful.
you had bathing suits?
Yeah,
You had tank suits?
We had no bathing suits.
Yeah,
Yeah, but we had to wear those in the swimming pool.
Yeah, but we had to skinny dip. What are you talking about? What bathing suit?
The girls wore bathing suits. Do you remember those awful gym outfits we had to wear?
With the blue
Oh, Lord.
bloomers. Yes,
The blue bloomers with
Yeah.
the snaps up the front. Oh my God.
And when we had to go across to the Cadwalder Park to play tennis, we had to go out in public across the street in those.
So you say that about playing tennis. And my daughter and son-in-law were here about a week ago, and we sit out on our screen porch, like distance about 12 feet apart. And my oldest granddaughter, who's 16, is starting taking tennis. And I was saying to her, oh, that's great, because I used to play tennis all the time at Cadwalder Park. And my daughter says to me, look, Mom, you've done a lot of things, but you never played tennis. And I said, I guarantee you I played tennis. So I need some support here. I need some documentation.
well, I don't think there's pictures of it, but did I shared it yesterday with Kenny. I'm sure I posted, I had 3 copies of The Flare, which was the school magazine.
Yeah.
Oh my
And I
God.
have 3 copies which I scanned from 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, each year, I think. And I thought I posted it, but if anybody wants it, I found people in there. Just shoot me an email. I've got it as a PDF, but I have a little box because I have my report card somewhere there. And Trenton High, we had the graduation ceremonies. I had those saved too. Just add another name here because I was in touch with him, but he really wasn't interested. I see Donnie Friedman all the time because he lives here in Philly. And ironically, we met at the theater maybe 15 years ago once and found out we always belong to the same theater productions and so on. And he's apparently still doing consulting. And, last time I saw him was about a year and a half ago. We met and I gave him a copy of the article he wrote for The Flare, which was sort of cool. But he's doing well. He lives right here in town.
But Gary Nath, I think he's retired now. Gary went to Temple and then went to law school, and he had an office. We found him in San Diego and in just outside of DC. But I think he's retired now, and his older brother Mark lives about a 3-minute walk from our house.
Okay. I also, when I was looking for people, I tried to find, or I don't remember why it was, maybe it was Georgia's page or something, but I was looking for Ann Holcomb. You remember her? Her sister is on Facebook. Judy is, I think, her name. And I sent her a note, and she gave me she forwarded it, and she gave me Ann's email address, and I sent a note, but I haven't heard back. So
Steve, what about Pat Schrager?
Oh, now that was going to be one of my other searches. I haven't seen Pat. I don't know where she is, but about 10 years ago, I still do theater reviews around Philadelphia, and there's a theater company in Trenton. They just changed the artistic director last year, but it's in what used to be the little church down on Front Street, I guess it was. And Fred, who was her older brother, was on the board, and I met him there one day, and I said something. So I'm trying to get through to the people that from the theater that know Fred to get to Pat and see if we could get her. And I'm sure we've lost some people too. I don't know any. I mean, George Hyman's the last one I know that died. But
yeah, his daughter is getting married in about 3 weeks here in Hamilton Township, and I, unfortunately, because of the quarantine, he asked me to give her away because George and I and his wife Myra Himmelstein and my wife Iris Hyman all lived on the same street after we were married. But I think her wedding has been reduced from like 250 people to 75 people.
Wow.
But her Allison Hyman and our oldest daughter Amy were they think they're relatives because we only live 5 houses away from each other their entire life.
You're lucky. At least you can still have weddings over there. In the Philippines, all of our weddings have been canceled. The government and churches have shut down everything, and there's no marriages at all. Except last week I saw in the newspaper that one of the churches, I think it was the Catholic Church, is going to allow virtual weddings on the internet.
Wow.
We had a virtual funeral. The first, I couldn't believe going to that, but at least we were able to go. The other thing I wanted to tell you, Steve, I'm in touch with Robin Goodstein. I will notify her. I'm thinking as you're talking. And also Sharon Byer, so I can get both of them.
Now I sent Sharon a note. I found her the other day, and it was funny because her picture's up there. She looks so young. Zagnet's coming back. Let's see, admit. And I sent her a note. So yeah, if you're in touch with Sharon, yeah,
I will get in touch with her. And the other thing I wanted to say, we're talking about Cadwalder Park, and for those of you that haven't been back to Trenton. When I was back about 8 years ago, we went to the park, and the Monkey House is a beautiful museum.
Wow.
So if anybody gets back to Trenton and wants to see, they really turned it, it's I forget the name of it.
It's a Trenton.
Does anybody know that?
Mickey's
Trenton City Museum, and it's art. It's basically history on the top floor and art on the bottom. And I've been on the board there for 5 years.
It's a wonderful museum.
Great museum. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I was back there last August to visit my brother who just passed away at the age of 90. Wow. And his daughter drove us by Cadwalader Park because I wanted to see it. And boy, how beautiful the Monkey House really looked beautiful.
Yeah, a lot's been done.
Outside,
and it doesn't smell anymore.
Well, let me share another quick story. Last night I was looking for a picture. If you read the email I sent last night with the reminder, I found a picture of downtown Trenton. So I was looking for Trenton in the 60s. Oh, Lenoble's joining us. He's coming in. Anyway, so I found this website that showed old and new pictures, and all of a sudden one popped up, and it was a picture of my father and later my mother's shoe store, Antiles, and it was in the middle period. It was the second Antiles. Hi, Steve.
How you doing?
So because the first one, when we moved to Trenton when I was 7 months old, my father had the shoe store on Academy Street, directly across from the children's library. And then they tore that down or something, and he moved over to the 100 block of State Street between Stockton and Montgomery. And that got teared down maybe 5 years later to build Arnold Constable, for those that remember that. And they moved, by that time my father had died, they moved to 30 East Hanover Street, right next to where George Hyman's parents had the uniform shop. So I see this thing, and the reason it was up there was that the State Theater was 4 doors down, and it was on a theater site of theaters that aren't there anymore. But here was this great picture that I never knew existed of the store. I had another picture, but it was, you never know what you're going to find.
Well, if you're looking for old Trenton stuff, in the down in the library on Academy Street.
Oh, yeah.
If you go in and go to the left, there's a whole large room called the Trentoniana collection, and it has everything Trenton. And you can
Yeah, I
look,
think
you can look up anything.
that library is still there. That's what's truly amazing. That's what's just really, truly
Archival
amazing.
material. They have archival material. They have Baba Sheila's all the way back to like 1920.
Yeah, they have everything.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
I have mine. It's on the shelf.
Yeah, mine's on the shelf, and there was a book put out about 25 years ago that I bought of all the names of the high school graduates from Trenton High from the 30s on up. And
Wow.
my mother-in-law's name was there. All her sisters were there. All of our names were there. And I use it for minimal research now.
Steve? Lenoble?
I hate
Is
to
your mic on?
interrupt. I'm having a really good time here, but I just got the low battery signal. So I'm
Okay.
gonna have to get off.
Oh, we won't give you that
No,
much.
Liz.
Liz, good
Bye,
night.
Liz. Good to
Bye-bye.
see
Take care,
you.
Liz.
Well, we're going to do this again. Everybody send me emails.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Take care. So, Steve, you recognize everybody?
Not a soul.
And you know me.
I may know you. I don't recognize you.
It says Nina, but it's Naomi. It's,
Oh, well, then Naomi, I
I
know.
share an account with Nina. So
And you remember Steve Daner.
Also known as iPad.
And Mike Newman is here, of course.
All right, and I'm Linda Russell. That's who I was. So Steve,
Steve,
I
Steve,
remember the
Steve,
name.
you won't recognize me because I don't have that green thing that the guy on the plane with the joke you sent me today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you guys see me too.
That was hilarious.
Now, you don't recognize Allie George, do you? Second
Lee
row
George used to be Eddie.
is Eddie Carpenter.
Not ringing bells with me.
And he's now 5 after midnight
You
for
don't
him.
remember
He's over in
George
the
Carpenter?
Philippines.
And I'm back on, so.
Hi,
Yeah,
Bruce.
so
Sounds like a threat, Bruce.
Just,
how many did you trace?
well, I'm sorry.
How many
How
did you
many
trace?
did you trace?
You were tracing. Didn't you
Oh,
leave
how
us to
many
go
traces
trace?
I made about 20.
Good
Oh,
for you.
okay.
Wow.
Good for you.
Yeah,
how,
but
how many push-ups did you do?
none yet. My shoulders are killing me. I have to respond to my grandson today, so I'll do whatever I can, and we'll see.
well, Bruce, according to the latest update, it says hospitalizations have dropped below 400 in Maryland. So your caseload should be going down.
Well, I don't. Hospitalizations are one thing, and contacts are another.
Yeah, I know.
So, and we have to call both. We have to call contact people who have come in contact with the case, and then what they call index cases of people who have tested positive, and they have to be called every 72 hours. So regardless,
To make sure they're quarantining.
to make sure that they're not getting worse, to find out what they're doing, if they're doing things correctly. So
Okay.
all those people still have to be called. And I think on my shift this morning, there were 30 people calling around the state. And oddly enough, the people that are calling are from all over the country. So there were people on my shift that were calling from Florida, from California. I thought it was only confined to Maryland, but we're only calling the state of Maryland. But the people who are calling can be anywhere in the country.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Interesting. I didn't know that. I think Maryland is finally doing pretty good. I think the Northeast seems to be doing pretty good. I mean, Northeast, Middle Atlantic.
Well, New Jersey's getting a little nervous. Our positivity rate has gone up a little bit, you know.
But it's going to get worse.
I agree.
It's going to get a whole lot worse.
I agree.
In a matter of weeks. So
We got a lot worse over here in the Philippines. We've been locked down since March, and everything was really going, really well, so we thought. And 2 weeks ago, we started opening back up, and we turned around and shut right back down after 2 weeks because the caseload doubled in one day. So,
Wow.
it's
Well,
like
George, I can tell you, that's what I'm dealing with. I live in a 34-story, 428-unit high-rise building, and I'm president of the board, and I shut the building down completely the middle of March. And now with Governor Murphy opening up a little bit, I'm dealing with, I just wrote like a 3-page protocol to finally allow visitors in. The board's going to have a discussion on tomorrow night, and I really don't know where I'm going to go.
I'll tell you, I was president of the board in my association in Hawaii before we left over there. And I look at this and I think back and I think, boy, am I glad I'm not in your position right now, because this is
let me give you an
nobody
example.
knows
What do you
anything.
do with people that need babysitters?
Yeah.
Those are outside people coming in. If they have to go to work, who takes care of the child?
I asked over here about getting out to get medicines because we have a police checkpoint right outside my front gate. And it's because of the crossroads that go through over here. And we are, of course, like many people, we're on monthly maintenance medicines. And so I said, hey, we've got to get our prescriptions refilled.
Right.
Well, fortunately, the system that they've devised over here, we have various law enforcement agencies. And one of the very local agencies here, what the municipality is doing is they're designating them to go to the houses of seniors, take the prescriptions and go to the pharmacies and fill them and bring it back to the house.
Bring them back for the seniors.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
So,
Because the seniors are at risk,
Oh, 85 out of 100 in England are cases are seniors. So the deaths,
But there was the actor who was 41 who just died.
Yes, he did.
Yep.
Oh yeah, there are others, of course, but
The number of cases between 20 and 40 are increasing exponentially.
Absolutely.
But they're not getting seriously ill, but they can spread. That's the problem. And the other thing in Florida, in this god-awful Wild West state that I live in, basically the data is questioned constantly.
Naomi, I don't know why you say that, because we all revere your governor.
Well, don't even ask me. Don't even ask me to go there, because it is just
Hey, I
bizarre.
just saw him on television yesterday. He is so eloquent. He has it so together.
And he's positive. He's positive.
and you all want to know why I live in the Philippines.
I have considered it.
Hey, George, even at Junior 3, I said you were smart.
Actually, the only reason we're over here is my wife couldn't adjust to the cold weather, so we had to move someplace warm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have mail order in the Philippines?
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, you could have it mailed to you.
Well, yes, we could, but not from the United States.
Well, wherever.
I get mail order drugs all the time from the VA, and the VA is pretty prompt and pretty well doing that. Is anybody else doing mail?
Oh, we have mail order. That was the first thing my kids said to us when we locked down. You have your medication.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of the pharmacies around here are also doing curbside pickup.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you don't do mail order, you can't, or whatever reason, you can also do curbside, and then they have early hours for seniors, which sometimes are more crowded than the other hours.
There's more of us.
But
Our problem here is that the post office is shut down. So even if we did mail order, there's nobody to deliver it. And even my bills that I used to get by courier, I've gotten notice from the bank and one of my credit cards over here that they're not going to deliver me a monthly bill now because the courier services are shut down. So I got to do everything electronically, and it's hard to get bills through the computer.
Hey, wait. George, you should respond. You're not going to deliver them a monthly payment.
I thought about that.
That seems to me to be a very appropriate response. I'm just kidding, but
I enjoy my electricity. I really do like it,
Let me throw out a question to the group, just so we can feel some things out. Starting with Tula, I assume you're watching everybody in the same order I am, which is Tula. What are your interests and hobbies? Because I'm wondering if some of us share the same things or whatever. So what are you doing with your time other than grandchildren or children or whatever?
I'll start.
Oh, okay, you can start, Linda.
Yeah, I'm first on mine next to you, so I don't know how yours are.
Oh, no, they're
Right,
different.
right, right. I think
So,
all of our
some
screens
of
are
my-
different. I just got to tell you.
Some of my favorite things are reading, cooking, and I love to swim and particularly water walk.
What do you
And
read?
we love to travel.
Okay,
which
what
is-
kind of reading?
A little crimp in our style right now. Last year we were in Croatia, Montenegro, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Slovenia, and Germany. It was a wonderful trip. And I post all the stuff on Facebook now that keeps popping up. But I think that's going to be a while because right now I'm making a big decision. Our JCC has reopened, and you have to sign up, you have to register, they take your temperature, you have to wear a mask. I want to go back to water walking. I'm trying to decide if I have enough courage to do that. So I think traveling is going to be a while. Anybody have any thoughts about whether it's safe to go water walking?
Is water walking a religious thing? No?
Not on the water. In the
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Linda, I do water aerobics every day because the virus does not live in swimming pool water.
Mhm.
Bacteria does, but virus doesn't. You just have to be careful of the surfaces around. So I do my aerobics every day, and I come home. I don't sit around. I don't touch anything. And it has kept me sane. Once I could get back into the pool, it has been marvelous, physically and emotionally. So yes, you can do that.
Okay.
My hobby is I do photography, which is somewhat limited, but I can do that. Everything I do is sort of independent, so I don't have to, involve anybody else. I also do a lot of pottery. The only thing is I can't get to the kiln, but I can make all my clay, and someday I'll get to the kiln to bake my stuff. I do weaving. I do a lot of crafts, which keeps me very entertained in my house. But I miss terribly my social circles. That is the downfall of all this. But God bless Zoom. I do a lot of Zoom meetings, and I love them. So that'll keep me hopefully sane for the next how many ever years we have to do this.
Yeah.
And travel. I'm a traveler. And in the summer, I usually travel all through the summer, get out of Florida because it's got awful hot. But I'm not going anywhere this year. So I'm thinking of ways to survive the heat in Florida because it's been unbearable.
Wow.
You could move to the Philippines. It's nice and cool over here right now.
You're making it sound very good. You really are.
It's only about 80 degrees right now. So.
Oh, wow. Is that what it usually is? You get a hot season, right?
Our hot months over here are generally in May, and we just went through a very hot May. I didn't have to mow my lawn for 2 months, and that's one of my hobbies. I do. Well, it's not a hobby, but that's my exercise. I've got a half acre of ground that's on the top of a hill, so my lawnmower runs up and down hill, and I have to mow it about every 2 weeks normally. But the temperature right now, yesterday of course, we're on Celsius. You guys are on Fahrenheit, but yesterday we were 31 degrees here. And to give you an idea, Washington, D.C. was 34. So, we do pretty cold. And when I'm not doing mowing the lawn, I, believe it or not, love to bake. I make cookies and cakes and things for the family. And,
That's cool.
And that's kind of a nice hobby. While Mom's out tending the plants, I'm inside baking, so we're not in each other's way.
Is there a shortage of yeast?
And
over
we
there?
love to travel. We've been to 21 countries so far, and we were going to Australia and New Zealand this year, but of course, COVID shut everything down. So we're like the rest of you, stuck in the house. Although I got to tell you, I snuck another couple up to our house yesterday, and we had a couple of beers up on the upstairs lanai and watched the moon rise. If you look on my Facebook page, you'll see my other hobby of photography. I post sunsets and sunrises because up here where I am, I get 360-degree views, and they've just been awesome in the last month with the clouds, with the rainy season.
Wow.
Well, we have 3 photographers here because Larry is the 3rd. Mike, you too?
Well, photography, I've done it for 50 years, and I love it. And woodworking, and we travel a lot. And
I'm a retired full-time photographer who doesn't have the hobby.
It's not a hobby; it's a profession for you.
It was. Actually, it was video. It wasn't
Video.
still. I'm doing still now. I was doing video production and television news stories.
Okay,
By the
somebody
way,
else?
guys, just a little aside for you. I want you to see my very eco-friendly shirt. You know those plastic water bottles that you all have been drinking from?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's what you do with them. You make them into clothing. And believe it or not, I bought this at the Walmart in Houston, Texas.
Wow.
I thought you
So
made
there you
it.
go.
Great.
Well, I do a lot of pleasure reading now. I mean, for 40 some years, actually close to 50, we read a lot of transcripts. So reading was not on my bucket list for pleasure, but now we do a lot of reading. We've done a lot of traveling, and my wife's maiden name, because she is from Trenton also, but a few years younger than myself, was Iris Feynman. But we've been married for 53 years with 2 daughters, one living right in Yardley and the other in San Diego. And we have 5 grandchildren that keep us busy. But this winter, we did not go anywhere. We miss our San Diego travels and reading. We used to do a lot of river cruises, gone to Europe quite a few times, and just enjoying life.
So you're in Yardley. Do you see Terry Rosenfeld or Franklin Aronson?
I used to see Terry and Franklin once in a great while. Mickey may know.
Yeah, I've bumped into Franklin at someone's house maybe a year ago, and he's a year older than us, I believe. And
I think, a year or two.
Probably bumped into in a restaurant. Terry and Eileen. That was about 5 years ago, though. But I haven't seen too many of them people around.
Linda, I don't know if you're going to remember this, Linda, but I went on my first date and I doubled with you and Franklin and Stuart Gertman.
Oh my God.
You recall, we were like 13 years old. Do you at all recall that? It was my first date. I remember it always.
We all had our first dates at 13.
I remember Stuart. I don't remember that we went on a double date like that.
We went to the movies. We went on the bus. We took the public bus downtown. And, just when you said Franklin Aronson, it just dawned on me that's what that was.
Interestingly enough, at the reunion, the 25th reunion, I actually met with Franklin and his wife at their house. And if I remember, they had 2 kids. They had a son and a daughter.
Right.
And Terry and Eileen, remember Eileen Rosenfeld?
Yes.
And she was from Ewing, and they came over. Yeah. And they had actually found some old 45s that I think they had borrowed from me and it had my name on it or something.
Oh my.
And then we had a wedding years later. We had a wedding here from a neighbor across the street. And who shows up at the wedding but Terry and Eileen, because they were cousins of one of the people getting married. So, it's such a small world.
It is.
It's a small world. In fact, somebody mentioned Pat Strager.
Yeah.
Okay, Pat I didn't see her. Basically, she's an aunt of the attorney that did our practice sale. So it's funny her name came up, and I just, couldn't place Pat as the different generations. It was kind of tough. And you mentioned Mark Nath. Somebody mentioned Mark.
I mentioned Mark.
Mark and I.
That was Gary's
together. We've gotten to be very good friends.
Go ahead.
Mickey, do you know where Gary Nath is?
Somewhere in the DC area.
He was here in DC for a long time, and then he has a place in Florida, and I haven't lost contact with him years ago, but he may be. He has a very large had a very large legal practice,
right?
A patent attorney, and he was all across the world. And like I say, he did have a place in Bethesda, and then he had a place also in Florida. But I don't know. I haven't spoken to him in years.
I was talking to Mark just the day about the family, and all three brothers are in Florida right now. He said.
Well, if you get email addresses for anybody, including if you want to research and find Pat, Schrager.
Oh, I can find Pat really easy because I'll just
well,
Pat,
maybe.
Pat and David were living, I think, in Arlington or somewhere. David he's a physician, and he had a practice in Virginia, and I had occasion, I guess, to call him for prescriptions or something for somebody years and years ago. But that's where they were. I haven't spoken to them probably 30 years.
Well, I see Mark probably even in the quarantine walking around our development. I probably see Mark once every week and a half.
So Mark is in Yardley?
Mark is in Langhorne, right where I am.
Okay.
But Gary did have he had a law practice also in San Diego, because I spoke to him out there a couple times quite a few years ago.
Yeah, he was all over the world.
Yeah.
Just so point out, we're talking about exercising in the water. It's important that you make sure you stay away from anyone else who's in the water. Even with the water there, I mean, the transmission through the air is what's going to make you vulnerable. So
Yeah, I know.
If there are other people in the pool.
In our classes, in our pool, in my community, we do social distancing in the pool. They time you. They only allow 10 people in the pool at once, and you have lots of space between you. So I feel it's pretty safe. And, the exercise I get and the mental health I get is well worth it. So I'm taking that risk.
Yeah, but do you go into the bathrooms at all, or
no? I go in the water, and I go home. That's it.
Right.
In the way the JCC is set up, their locker rooms are going to be closed. But you do have to, and you have your temperature taken for whatever that's worth.
That's worth it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you can be asymptomatic and have no temperature.
Right. Yeah. Right. So unless you have a positive temperature, taking your temperature is worthless. I mean, they can send you home and say you can't come in, but the fact that you don't have a temperature means nothing.
Exactly. So, but they're doing it because it kind of looks good, and you have to fill out a form, about travel, etc. But then you have to walk through the building to get downstairs to the pool. And as I said, the locker rooms are closed, so you have to go in and out, but it's not quite as easy as in Florida.
Well, my pool is outside, so number one, there's no inside.
No, this is outside, but you have to go through the building to actually get outside. So I can't, I know it's nice, but I've been walking 2 or 3 miles, like 4 or 5 times a week in the neighborhood. It's only because it's really getting hot out that the water walking would be, preferable, but so is staying alive. So,
our development opted not to open any pool or the gym or any joint facilities. So we all ended up being like in a walking club, staying safe apart.
Ironically, here in the Philippines, they've closed all of the pools, but they've left the largest pool in the world open to the public, the Pacific Ocean.
Pacific Ocean,
yeah. And the people are not practicing social distancing while they're in the ocean, and we're wondering why the caseload is going up.
And that's what's happening in Florida. They, like 90% of the beaches are still open. And you would think there's no problem at all. People are just piling in, and they're just sitting on the sand. It's bizarre, absolutely bizarre.
Well, my sister, who left Trenton for college in Florida, never came back. And she lived in Coral Springs up until about 3 years ago. And then she thought, gee, it's getting overpopulated. So she moved up to the Land, which is about an hour south of Jacksonville, Moore Center State, in a 55 and older community. And she said there's just a bunch of crazies on the beaches in Jacksonville and all over the place.
Jacksonville is terrible. It's the second worst city in Florida. Miami's the worst, and then that's where they're planning on having the Republican National Convention in Jacksonville. And it's just ridiculous because their numbers are sky high.
I don't know what we have very good friends our age. They just will not social distance. They will not wear masks.
Yep.
They just want to go to the restaurants. They're complaining if it's closed. It's
Yeah.
amazing, and these are people that should know better.
Wow.
I know.
Let me interrupt for a second. Tula, we haven't heard from you. What are your interests? What are you up to?
My interests have been very local. Do a lot in my synagogue and a lot of volunteering there, and that's been kind of curtailed. And then there was the JCC. I participated in Tai Chi and also water aerobics. So now I'm confined, and I've been doing a lot of gardening and walking the neighborhood, as Linda said. But it's been nice because people come in and we social distance on driveways. So we have that social contact where around and have time to talk. I mentioned to you, Jane Corman or Jane Schwartz is up in Florida, New Jersey. And if you don't have her information, I do speak to Jane with somebody.
No, I don't, for some reason. Yep. Everybody send me.
I'm gonna throw a plug in for a book. So that's
Good.
okay. If you have a lot of time to read, my oldest son Dan Newman's book comes out today. He's written some other books, but it's a nonfiction graphic novel, like the big comic book.
Right.
And it's called, maybe you want to write it down because you want to order it from Amazon. Unrig, How to Save Our Broken Democracy. And he was on, the book was on Zoom last night. And basically, so Unrig, just put Unrig, Dan Newman, and it'll take you to the site. But it's a really, really neat book. I've read a couple chapters, and the book is actually out. I expect my copy today in the mail.
He does the graphics as well as the text?
No, there's an artist does the graphics. He does the he made the book up. He started a company about 15 years ago. There's about 22 employees. It's a nonprofit, nonpartisan that follows the money in politics, and it's really, really interesting what he does. And there's a lot of things going on pro-democracy, positive.
I think it was mentioned either on MSNBC or CNN last night.
Yeah, it just came out. It'll come out today at 1:00.
Yeah, I think they mentioned it.
So there you go.
What's the title?
And the title again is what? How to Save Our Broken Democracy?
Is Unrig, UNRIG.
Unrig.
Unrig, colon,
Nikki?
how to fix our broken democracy.
Who's publishing?
You know, if it's not a picturesque expose of Trump, I'm really not interested. So.
If it's not what?
A picture expose of Trump.
Well,
you can read it that way.
Well, I probably have to read it upside down, but that's okay.
Well, we decided originally politics is not for our Zoom group because we never
I'm
know.
sorry. I take it back.
You're the one I think that said that.
I misspoke.
Yeah. So, Mickey, who's publishing?
Hey, Bruce, you can smile at that. Come on.
I'm sorry. I was distracted.
Who's the publisher, Mickey? Nick? Michael?
Yeah.
Who's the publisher?
Macmillan.
Oh, okay. Now, I don't know. I didn't talk about what I do.
Let me break in, Steve. Macmillan has come out with a series of 4 graphic novels. It's Macmillan's publishing it, but they have a special division of that. And this is the first of 4 books. The 3rd book is by Dan Rather. So it's pretty good.
Wow.
It's real good stuff. It's not junk. So it's something that maybe it's a different kind of reading. It's like a comic book, a 300-page comic book, but it's hardcover.
Well, I might mention. I think some of you knew that whatever. But I do a lot of music reviews, DVDs, book reviews, and number 50 on Amazon. So I need to get the publisher. Ironically, I posted something about Hamilton, and I hope everybody got to see it, got to stream it so far. If not, rush out and see the video. And if you did, by the way, just a side note, a lot of people didn't know, if you get the Disney Channel for a month, which is really $6.99, when you watch the thing, watch it with the subtitles the first time, because you'll get all the words. Then watch it again without the subtitles, and you can sing along if you want. But there's a 35-minute conversation, a Zoom conversation with the cast that was done recently. A lot of people don't know is up there. But anyway, somebody in my neighborhood, I think a number of you probably have Nextdoor in your area, and I'm always posting reviews and such like that on there. And so somebody posted she was doing a book on Hamilton and how it's connected with today's government. And I said, oh, I do reviews. And she said, yeah, well, here's the publicist. Oh, I work with that person all the time. So I'll get in touch with McMillan and see and get something up there for you. Should be good.
Now I'll make you all sick, because I'll tell you that all this internet and all this cable TV and all this stuff over that, I get 135 channels of TV on my cable for $18 a month. And my internet connection costs me $9 a month.
Okay.
But George, how much do you pay for the translation from Filipino?
Don't need it. It's all in English.
Oh, okay. I was just kidding.
No, I get everything that I want. My computer translates it for me. Yep. It's beautiful.
How fast are your internet speeds?
What's that? I'm on dial-up speed. I downloaded 0.5 Mbps.
Really? But you're streaming, for that, you're streaming rather well.
Yeah.
Well, that's because right now at this hour of the night, there's nobody on. You have to remember,
Right.
I'm not on a cable connection
Right.
at all. I'm on a wireless connection. And that's why I'm telling you I might go, because I'm listening to the thunder in the background, and anytime now the whole thing could just shut down.
So Mickey, just
Yeah.
to comment, your son's book got 4.5 out of 5 on Goodreads. It's got a really good.
That's that's good, I guess.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, that's 4.5. Yeah, it's
Congratulations.
very, very well reviewed. It's just a different kind of book. It's easy to read. What I've read, I've only read a couple of chapters, but I haven't seen the whole book together yet.
Well, it sounds like it would be really. Our son in Seattle works for the AWS part of Amazon,
Okay.
and he's been keeping a really graphic blog on the whole issue of COVID around the world.
COVID.
So he loves graphics. He's very mathematical.
Well, put him on to
I
this.
love the book. Exactly. I think it. So I thank you for the suggestion.
And, yeah, and it's not, believe me, it's not forcing a political view or anything like that. It's really just how to make it work, and I've learned a lot from it. And
It starts out, the review says, an intriguing and accessible nonfiction graphic novel about the role wealth and influence play in American democracy.
Yep, that's it.
Which is a really interesting lead-in. So thank you for the suggestion.
No problem. I saw his interview last night. Danny was interviewed by not Ralph Nader, somebody. He was interviewed by Ralph Nader on the not last night, but another somebody else, and it was about a half-hour interview, and it just went into it was a really very good interview. I wish it was. I knew it was going to be on. I would have told everybody in the world, but
Well, it's probably on YouTube somewhere.
it's
So
probably.
does it go under Dan or Daniel?
I'm sorry.
Is it Dan or Daniel? You said his name was Dan, right? Your son?
Yeah, sorry, your hands are in front of your mouth, and I couldn't hear you.
Sorry. Yeah, in front of my eye teeth, so I couldn't see what I was saying.
Okay.
Is your son's name is Dan?
Daniel Newman.
So is it come under Dan or Daniel? What
It's
is it?
under Daniel G.
Daniel-
Newman.
I think
Look it up. Daniel
under
G.
Daniel Newman, it comes up, doesn't it?
Good. I was going to look for the
Yeah,
interview on YouTube.
I put in the title under Dan Newman, and up came out, Unrig, How to Fix Our
Right.
Broken
Yeah,
Democracy.
that's all you have to put in under Daniel.
Yeah. And there it was, and I'm just reading one of them. That was Goodreads, but I thought that was interesting to comment on. I think, just as a comment about Mickey's good fortune that his son is doing this, for those of us who have children, I always think it's amazing to see the generation of our children who have been successful in whatever it is that they're doing. It's such a
We've been very lucky. The older one is Dan, and just started this thing that what he's doing for the country supposedly. His goal is to have all the elections publicly funded, so there's no money in politics, and they're working on it. That's a tough one. And the other one's a surgeon, so he's done well too. So And he's in charge of a 12 surgeon practice. So,
But, you know, it's just remarkable when you look at, you know, where we came from and the small city that we were in, and where we've gone. And then if we're lucky enough that we have children that have been able to be in whatever they do. I mean, I don't mean that they have to be
I hope
famous.
all of your kids are successful. And
I think I'm the only one here that wasn't married, so
things don't always work out the way you want.
we're single. Yeah.
We're very lucky. And even, of course, I hope you all remember Rochelle's not here right now, but
Oh, yeah.
we're still married. Still happy.
Well,
I think it's a testament to the advanced education system that you were talking about earlier, like the K through 8, and we were K through 9.
mhm.
You know, I read before, I can't quote exactly because it was years ago, but how great the education system in Trenton, New Jersey was east of the Mississippi during the time that we went to those schools.
Yeah, it was a good system. It really.
And that set the groundwork for us.
Trenton produced a lot of wonderful, successful people. I have to say that.
Right.
They put that on a bridge. Yeah, Trenton makes the world takes.
Well, the other side of that bridge.
I know.
Chris,
Yeah, what the world refuses, Trenton uses.
Absolutely.
We knew that in junior 3. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I give you guys credits for having great families. I just never wanted one, and it worked out, fine for the best. And we adopt the kids we want, and so on. And so
we stayed close to our homeland of Trenton, being only like 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And other than my 6 years in the service and traveling with the government, the area here has remained very comfortable for all of us, really.
Yeah, oh yeah, and we're here not too far from in Yardley and not too far from Trenton, and still support Trenton, like the museum and other Trenton activities, and are very much part of it. And and Rochelle and I met in 7th grade in junior 3, so it's really good.
I left the Trenton area right after high school and never returned back to it, and lived all over the place.
And
I reflect back on my days in Trenton, my growing up there, and I think it was a very healthy place, not only the school system, but the way that we had an integrated city and so many of the things that we can really be proud of. It breaks my heart when I go back to Trenton per se at this point. I keep my connections and have stayed part of the Trenton Historical Society because it's important to me. I also am on the board of Greenwood House, and I keep my connections going in Trenton because of the belief that Trenton was a fine city, did a lot of great work, and I never want to forget that, even when I know what it is today.
Well, like with Larry, my sister always asks me, or I talked to her about Trenton, and she forgot because she's 4 years younger than me, and her mind's not what it should be. But I remember Larry used to live on School Lane.
You're right.
And, you remember all these things. Tula was on Lenape Avenue. Linda, of course, was on West State Street.
And you could walk anywhere you wanted to go. You could walk.
Yeah. Richard Levy lived on Bruce Park Drive.
What a memory. Or do you have that written down?
I don't have to written down. It's just that it was such a fabulous place to grow up.
Yeah, it is.
Well, you have to remember it was if you watch documentaries or something like that on Trenton, it was 1968 when the riots were all happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's two things changed Trenton. One while we were there, which was the putting all the state buildings and demolishing down on Market Street. That's where Cy Hennenberg lived down there.
Right, he lived on, I believe it was Union Street.
Union Street, right. And all that went away, and that's when all our property taxes went up, or our parents' property taxes went up. And then in 68's when the riots happened, and I think many cities changed, drastically, at that point. So
in 68, I was in Fort Dix, New Jersey, and I was called up to the streets of Philadelphia for.
One second. Right.
I remember that. And then I remember my year after that with the vacation in a foreign land. It really wasn't a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Naomi?
No, I have to admit my military service was very good because I was on a ship in charge of the office, and we didn't do much traveling off the East Coast or South America. So I had it very good while my older brother was in Saigon. He went there actually as a spy, and he's doing fine now. But, you know, we've all come from the same place with the same memories, the same experiences, and we can still look back fondly upon them all.
And the fact that we've all sort of, if it wasn't for Facebook, we wouldn't.
You guys all look the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know,
I want a pair of those glasses.
the fact that we all went to Trenton High, that was a very unique situation as I talked to people who
We didn't all go to Trenton High, right?
and the fact that we went to different elementary schools. I went to Cadwalader. I didn't get to junior 3 until 7th grade. So, but then everybody in Trenton went to Trenton High.
No.
When
No.
I talk about that, no, what's the matter there, Larry?
I went to a school in New Hope, Pennsylvania, outside of New Hope, Pennsylvania,
Right.
after 8th grade, from 9th grade through my
Right.
senior year.
Why?
We did not go to Trenton High.
Well, a lot of people didn't go. We're talking about the Jewish people all went to Trenton High. The blacks and the Jews all went to Trenton High. The Catholics went to Trenton
No,
High.
I went to
Catholic schools. And Eddie left. When did you leave, Ed?
No, I graduated from Trenton High.
Oh, you did?
And
Okay. I
then went
thought you
right
did.
in. No, I went to Trenton High, and then I went in the military right after that. I went in the Air Force.
Okay.
And
But some
traveled
people,
around.
like Donnie Friedman, didn't go to Trenton High. He went to private school somewhere, and you know.
Yeah, I think Ronnie Wilson went to junior 3 and then went to Petty.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, dude.
I
So
went to
with
school
this
where-
group, I
yeah,
started
outside
this with the
school.
junior 3 group, but then I
Junior
expanded it. And if you look on the various Facebook pages, there was this whole group of people from the mid 60s, late 60s of junior 3 that all wanted to join the group. And I said, no, go find your own group. Because I want to do that. So I've tried to call this, we started this as a junior 3, and then I expanded it to people that went to Trenton High with us that came from other schools, like you, Naomi. And ironically, who's the one I heard from the other day? Chuck Levine. And I realized, I thought he was part of us, but he was 2 years after us, you know.
No, Chuck Levine was with us.
He was our group. He was with yeah, because he lived on the island when it used to be an island.
But he didn't, he wrote me a note this morning and said, no, I graduated Trenton High in 65.
Yeah, well,
He
I
was,
got news for him. He
yeah.
graduated with us.
Yeah.
Good?
Then his memory shot.
Okay.
Yes, he graduated with us.
Yeah, because he had an older brother.
Yes.
Unless you're thinking
Michael.
of Charles Levine.
Maybe they
who-
forced him to repeat a couple of years.
No, he graduated with us. His older brother's Michael.
Michael, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember Chuck.
Michael
I
passed
remember
away
him.
years ago.
Well, we'll share this with him too. So anyway, we've been on for like 75 minutes. So maybe
Let
we
me
can
ask
give
one.
us-
Does anybody remember? I have his face, but I don't have his name. Linda was talking about the tennis courts, Kowalder Park.
Right.
I remember Richie Robinson. He played a lot of tennis.
Yeah, he
But
lived
there was
on
a-
West
there was-
State Street.
Yeah.
There was
He on West
also,
State.
yeah, he was a very good friend of mine. But also there was a guy named Dennis
Ross.
Ross.
With
Those
one
two.
N.
He lived
Linda,
by
the reason why I'm
Trenton
saying
High.
it, either one of them could confirm your tennis playing.
But Dennis was
telling
at that reunion. Dennis was at that 25th.
Don't publicize it, but I was really irritated. You know, I mean, because
No, I remember both Dennis and Richie. They were always on the tennis courts.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rich-
Dennis lived
passed
on.
away.
Dennis lived by Trenton High.
Yep.
yeah, Richie
on,
passed away.
I think Dennis lived on Greenwood.
Richie Robinson passed away?
Yeah. He was a doctor in New York, I think.
No, he was the forensic guy, I thought, in Chicago. He was Dr. Quinn, whatever that guy was on television.
I don't think so. Maybe, but I don't think so.
No.
Okay.
Well, maybe somebody seeing this will remember. But-
Naomi,
I don't know.
Naomi,
I
do you have contact with Malcolm Casway?
Wow, that's a name I never heard.
You asked me?
I think he was a year older than us.
He was a couple. Naomi.
I don't know. It doesn't ring a bell, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, his parents had a cosmetic store right next to your father's store. It was down in the basement, and they sold, I don't know, perfumes and all kinds of stuff. And Malcolm Casway was on Ted Mack's Amateur Hour.
Wow.
Okay.
And he lives in Florida also.
Somehow that name is not ringing a bell, my memory or whatever it is, but I'm not.
Two doors down from
Doesn't ring a
Light.
bell with me either.
No. And
What
Larry Sherwood is in Chicago, outside of Chicago, northern Chicago.
You have a contact?
We see Larry probably once a year at a couple joint friend family type functions.
You mean David, right?
Well,
Changes
now
music.
it's yes.
Wait a minute, he changed his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually, he never liked David here, so we called him Larry. But in Chicago, his name was David. And we went up, George and I and our wives went to his, I guess it was his 60th surprise birthday party. And there was a lot of people there. And when he walked in surprised, everybody goes, "Congratulations, David." George and I waited till the dust settled. And then we go, "Congratulations, Larry." He knew we were there.
Yep. Well, if you have a contact, pass it on to me.
I will. I wrote the
By
name
the way,
down.
and it's not in our group, she was behind us, but somebody posted a picture yesterday on the Trenton, I think it was the Trenton High School Facebook page or something, of Judy Gibson. Remember Judy?
Yes, it was Judy Gibson.
Judy Gibson, the young black girl that she's going to go on the Broadway and all that. And she died a number of years ago, quite a while ago, I guess. But the only person from Trenton that I ever see written about anywhere is Judy Light. You know, she was.
Yeah,
she
he stopped in when my sister was in Southern Florida. They got together because she was in a show in Southern Florida, and my sister said she was just very, very gracious. We have a friend here who is younger than us. I forgot her maiden name, but she's still friendly with, well, she's also my sister's age, 4 years younger, Judy Wayner, who lives in East Windsor.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, but it's funny because I post to some other places and I keep mentioning our friends. I'll mention something about, they're watching a TV show, and I said, yeah, we went to school with Judy Light. Judy Light, who's that? I said, well, you know her as Judith, you know, so.
Yeah.
But she's
Exactly.
made, I mean, Trenton doesn't get that many big people, you know. Ernie Kovacs, David Dinkins.
Tal Brody is
Well, yeah, well, we saw Tal,
We saw-
Steve.
Steve and I saw Tal Brody with Jonathan Weber.
Yeah, at the movie, yep.
Yeah, Jonathan should be on today, Steve.
Yeah, I'm surprised he wasn't, but, you know.
Don't forget
we'll
Al
see.
Downing.
Huh?
Al Downing.
Yeah, Al Downing,
Al
and
Downing.
then,
Ruth Berkelhammer talks to Al Downing at least once a month or so. I
Really?
believe he's in California, and she could get in touch with him. Well, he didn't go to Trenton. He didn't go to
No.
Junior 3,
No.
but he went to Trenton High.
He was my brother's age.
Yeah.
and then we have the other person that
Bruce,
nobody
didn't he throw
realizes.
Hank
came from
Aaron's
Trenton.
famous home run?
What?
Sorry.
Yep.
Didn't Al Downing
Yep.
pitch Hank Aaron's famous home run?
Yep.
Babe Ruth?
Yep.
Yeah.
And don't forget the other sports guy, which I never realized came from Trenton, Dennis Rodman.
Absolutely.
Football player Elvin Bethea.
Yep.
Is Dennis Rodman from Trenton?
Yep.
Yes, he is.
I didn't know that.
So was
Yes,
the
as a
big,
matter- I do autographs. In fact, I got him autographing something saying Trenton, New Jersey.
Wow.
He was born in Trenton.
yeah, if you Google like famous people from Trenton, you get
And if you
about
can catch him,
12 people.
Naomi, if you can catch him when he's lucid, he'll admit it even.
Okay. I'll give it a shot.
No, don't even waste your time.
So we went back to Trenton once. My parents moved when I was in college, so I was my freshman year. So I
Where
didn't
did
get
you live?
back.
Remind me.
What?
What street were you on?
West State.
I was at 1213 West State Street,
1213. Okay. Yep.
and we lived on a main street. And so we moved when I was a freshman in college. And so I never went back to sort of reconnect with people. But my husband and I were traveling from, I don't know something in Long Island back to the Washington area. And we must not have had our kids with us or something, because we decided to take a diversion and see if we could find our street, my street, which took a little doing, but we actually found it. And, you know, my images growing up, it was a very big street, very wide, 4 lanes, big trees, porches out in front. When you go back, it's not the same. And, you know, the whole climate of the community had changed. So we sat and we parked the car in front of my old house, which was one of those 2-family ones where we had separate porches, but 2 houses with, you know, 13 inches in between.
My detached.
A woman named Mrs. Levin and her son lived next door to us. And then the Lloyds lived on the other side in an individual home. And I wanted so badly to knock on the door of the people who owned the house or living in it and say, I used to live here, can I come in? And I didn't have the nerve to do it. So I don't know, those of you who live closer by get to see other parts of the city. But
I did that on School Lane. I haven't been back to Trenton for years. And about 10 years ago, I went back to School Lane with my sister, Marcia. And we parked in front of our house on School Lane and looked at each other. Let's knock on the door. And the people let us in. They were in the process of moving out. It was absolutely trashed. I mean, there were holes in the wall, trash all over the floor. The plumbing looked like it had been broken and everything. It was really a heartbreak to see this, you know, what was a nice home at one time.
Well, you know, that's the history. My sister's daughter was a recruiter for the University of Miami, so she came up and stayed with us for about 4 months. And she wanted to see where her grandfather lived, where her mother was brought up. So I took her onto West State Street, down to Westfield Avenue, drove around, and the alleyway that I thought was kind of big was really, really small. And that her only comment was, I didn't know Grandpa was so poor.
But yeah,
I did the same thing. I lived on Atterbury Avenue, and when my dad was alive, when I would come and visit him, and he would always want to go back and, you know, see the old houses we lived in the old neighborhoods. And we went back to Atterbury Avenue, and we were sitting in the car looking at it, reminiscing, and some people came out and said, can I help you? And I said, well, you know, we used to live in this house many years ago. And, you know, I told him about some of the memories. And then my father, who was 95 at the time, he said, would you like to come in? And I looked at my father and I said, would you like to go? Well, he couldn't walk very well, so he couldn't go in. He stayed in the car, but I went in. And it was such deja vu. It was like, I never lived there in my life. It looked so very different. But at least he was very gracious. And then his sister lived next door, and they invited us for tea. And they bought it out so my father could have a cup of tea. And we had it. It was a wonderful experience. But the house was like an unbelievable memory. And then one other story I want to tell. I was born on Hollywood Avenue by the train station.
By Harriet Kravitz.
By Harriet Kravitz, exactly. But I left when I was 3 years old, so I don't have a lot of recollection. And one time when I was visiting in Trenton, I decided I wanted to see the Hollywood Avenue place. I've seen it in pictures, but I had no recollection. And it was 44 Hollywood Avenue. And I saw 42 and I saw 44, but there was no, I have 46, but there was no 44. So I went home to my mother and I said, Mom, was it 44? And she said, yes. I said, well, it's not there. She said, I don't believe it. I got her in the car and I said, I'll show you. And we get there and she looks at it. She said, what happened to our house? Well, the 2 neighbors on both sides paid to knock it down and make bigger yards for each other.
Oh my goodness.
And it was just so weird that here I was and our house was gone. So I didn't complain. I couldn't even reminisce. We had to depend on our memories.
Well,
Steve, another name that just hit my memory bank was Stanley Goldberg. I believe he lived on Murray.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
He did. Yeah.
Well, last year when I was back in New Jersey visiting my brother, his daughter took me past our old house. You know, Steve, we lived on Riverside Avenue, right across the street from Gary Nath and Mark Nath.
Sure.
And we drove by the house on well, we used to call it the East-West Highway. I don't know what they
Oh,
call it
yeah.
now, which used to be a canal, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, until 1957, yeah. 56.
And we went by the house and she slowed down so I could see it. And I'm looking at the house and she's telling me, well, it's under renovation. And, you know, and I'm looking at this duplex house and I couldn't even recognize the place. I mean, the whole neighborhood was just, it was totally unrecognizable.
Our house on Morningside Drive, which we moved in 1950, and stayed there till whatever. Of course, in 56, the flood came, and I became Tula's next door neighbor for a while as we moved, because everything, and that's why I have not a lot of pictures from early on, because we had mud up to a couple inches from the ceiling. Anyway, so I had pictures of that thing. They're black and white. And then in 1990 or something like that, they had another flood in Trenton. And what's his name? Van Ellis's up on Abernathy or so on. Somebody still lived there. They went and they took a picture. So I have the exact same picture looking down from Argyle off of Abernathy at the house, the same level. And then another 4 years later, they had another flood. So I actually have 3 pictures of this house, you know, at the same water level. Basically, I don't know what happened to the other people, but I guess I drove by about 5 or 6 years ago. I go near Trenton, but I never drive up by the house, but nothing's really changed, you know. Oh, and the other big name from, he was, 2 years ahead of us? There were 3 of them. There were, a year ahead of us was Larry Lefkowitz.
Zal Lefkowitz. Zal.
No, Zal was Larry's older brother.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
and Zal, of course, changed his name to Zalman King. And then,
And he passed away a couple years ago.
yeah, he did all that soft porn stuff. That was his big special. So, yeah, it's interesting. Well, I'm going to wind this down because I'm getting a little tired and I need a bathroom break too. So I hope you guys all have fun.
It's good to see you.
I will send you the link to the recording.
Steve,
George,
thanks for putting this together.
George, my aunt and uncle, you live right down the block from you. I remember the flood. I remember the canal. I remember the highway.
Wow. We got to do this again.
Yeah, we will. We'll do it. We'll probably do it next month.
Thank you for organizing.
You're welcome.
Yes,
Let's see how many people we can get.
Thank you, Steve.
Send me emails.
Let's keep it
Send
down
me
so we
emails.
don't wake
Everybody
up
take
alone.
care. Well,
Be well.
right, bye-bye.
All right.
Bye now.